Hello and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey Podcast, the podcast where me and my brother Charlie talk about English ice hockey, specifically the NIHL, and we are doing our second team episode, team special, and it's the Telford Tigers special. Obviously, we've done our whole one. Make sure to check out the whole Seahawks special where we have Matty Davies. And we had a really special guest on this one. We had Scott McKenzie, the captain. He came on and he had a really good chat with us, Charlie. We could have probably talked for ages. But he was on holiday with his family. So thank you, Scott, for making the time for us, and we'll edit that in after we've talked about last season. But it was a really good interview, wasn't it, Charlie?
Yeah, it was good. We're literally recording this about 5 minutes after doing the
Yeah.
interview. But yeah, he's a really nice guy. He's got a massive, unbelievable stat record in the National League, and I think he speaks a lot of sense into the hockey. So if you are a Telford fan, you'll really enjoy it because you get to hear one of your greatest ever legends talk about the game. And if you're not a Telford fan and you're listening, I think he gives a real great insight into the leagues and the financial standings of leagues as well, and how players on power plays get more opportunity as well. So it's really interesting.
Um, it was a bit of a Wi-Fi problem at the start, but it was literally for about the first minute. When he was just saying hello and stuff, and then it was pretty much all right. His camera froze, so you don't really get to see him, but you can hear him all right. I think I'll have to check back the footage, but it seemed all right when we were listening to it, didn't Charlie? It cut out maybe like two or three times, but it was a good 45-minute interview.
Yeah, it was a good interview. Listen to it now.
Dan, you've joined us. Thanks for joining us back again.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
That's all right. Right, let's crack into it then. So, how we do these team specials, if you are just listening, we go through how they did last season, some of the players from last season, the talking points. We'll obviously cut to the McKenzie interview, and then we'll talk about next season, the team they've signed up, some of the new boys, some of the players who might have left. We also talk about their expectations, and then we each have a ones to watch. So, lads, get thinking of your ones to watch ready for next season, which we'll be doing at the end. But last season, again, I think it was what we expected with Telford. We know that they're one of the lower budget teams in the league, but then they've also got top two coach in the league, and a winner. So I think it was what we expected. They finished sixth. They finished bang in the middle. They got their playoff spot, and I think they had a really good end to the season. Charlie, what did you make of the season as a whole for Telford?
It was a successful year for Telford. I thought they had a great season. I thought they had big injury problems. They had an import who didn't turn up, like Scott said, and also Danny Rose got an 18-month-long injury at the start. And yeah, they got into Coventry. I said how it is. They didn't get to the final potentially because of a goal which never went across the line, so they can't really help that. So yeah, a really successful year for them, and they beat one of the top dogs to get into playoffs as well.
Yeah, they did. They got but points against Milton Keynes, which is not very easy to do, especially in their own rink. Dan, a standout player for them last season. We talk about it with Matty Finley House. Charlie mentioned that he is becoming the face of Telford Tigers. He's been there for the last few seasons. He put up 81 points this season at just 20 years old, I think he is. That is ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, he has all these stats over all these seasons, and he still goes under the radar as a Brit. He is the point scorer for Telford, and the fact he's still so young as well. And I'm not even surprised that he's staying at Telford either, and he's obviously got that two-way contract as well this season coming up, so
Yeah.
that's going to be really good for him. But yeah, Tom Watkins loves him. It's his perfect play. You know what you're going to get from him, and I'm sure they trust each other just as much as anyone else on that team. So
Yeah.
yeah, he's a perfect fit for that Tigers team.
And I'm sure we'll go into it a bit in the preview for next season, but he has got a two-way with Belfast, so he's earned his two-way with an elite league team. And Mackenzie actually talks about what that includes before the season even starts, which I think is really good for his development. They obviously had the import to Vladimir Luka, who was actually their top point scorer. He got 52 goals, which is very, very good. Any player who gets over 50 goals are vital to their team, and I think he was their main goal scorer throughout the season. All the goals went through him, really, and other players chipped in as well, including Finley and Scott as well. But the other two imports is what I want to ask you about, Charlie. Jesse Sutton and Jaden Pecker. Obviously, we know Pecker at the start. It was quite a slow burner for him. He picked up 113 penalty minutes in his first season. He had quite a few bans as well. He was the highest penalty minutes for a long time. He might have finished the league with the most penalty minutes. But they really come into their own at the end of the season, especially in playoffs. And we kind of saw the best of them at the end of the season.
Yeah, they were two different types of imports. Pekka was just an absolute workhorse. He was everywhere on the ice, hit everyone, punched everyone, and did everything. Whereas Sutton was quite a skillful, bit of a sniper, to be fair, especially when we saw him at the end of the season. And they came into their own quite late on, and I think Telford probably missed. I think Telford missed them a bit during the season because I think it took some time to settle. But they were phenomenal in playoffs, and I thought I'd give a shout out to Sutton and Pekka if they're listening. They may be because they actually messaged us saying they listened to the pod.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty cool. So shout out to you and Pekka. You are a wind-up merchant.
Hey, but that's what you need in a team. And, he certainly put up the assists come playoff time. Let's talk about. I know you mentioned it a bit. They obviously weren't they were the underdogs going into the final four, obviously making Coventry. They had Raiders who were good back end of the season, Swindon and MK who obviously stacked rosters. But Charlie, you predicted them. We mention it all the time. You won't let it go. But they were the underdogs and they finished top of the group, Dan. And how vital was that last game? I know Swindon didn't perform at their best, but Telford would just that was the best probably game they've played all season. And they saved the best till last.
Yeah, well, they needed to carry in that momentum to Coventry, didn't they? Because they are obviously the underdogs, and they always seem to be the underdogs, and that's what they seem to like. Tommy Watkins seems to pull out the bag every time, but yeah, I'm a big believer on momentum in hockey. So getting that game under them and knowing that they can—that's why they didn't stop. They just carried on scoring and scoring and scoring. Then they went into Coventry, carried their momentum in, and they were like, right, we've just played that game. Now we can do it in another rink. And it's like the momentum is so big for them. And they're a big momentum team as well. If they start getting a few goals in, they won't stop and they'll just keep growing and growing in the game.
I think something we forget, Charlie, and fans forget, that first game, they were 4-2 down or 5-3 down against Telford, against Raiders in Romford. And we know how rowdy that can get sometimes. And they made the comeback and won 6-5. And that really showed what a team they were in terms of it doesn't matter if maybe they not got the flashiest team on paper, but they just get results done. And I know Scott talks about how they've never finally got it at Coventry, but they're always there, aren't they?
Yeah, Tom Watkins.
Is that all it is? Tom Watkins. And we'll talk
man.
about it
like,
because
he's so good at gelling the team together and building the bond in them that it's not a coincidence that, don't get me wrong, Telford were very consistent when they won the league, but now they're probably on paper one of the worser end teams in the league or middle end team in the
especially
league.
with budget as well.
With budget as well, yeah. Telford always get rolling when the season gets closer to the end. He always makes James Smith turn into Austin Matthews. Like, it doesn't make sense. There's players in there where you're just like, how have you suddenly just started bagging points for fun? And he gets the best out of players, Louis Newell and so many others. Tom Watkins just gets them going. And by the end of the year, they're on fire because they love the coach they play under. They love the team they play under. And I think people who play at Telford enjoy hockey. And when you enjoy hockey, you normally play better. And it's just a credit to Telford because they've made Coventry so many years in a row now. And that's because they're a very good team.
Yeah, they are. And another big reason why they were so successful at the back end of the season is Archie Hazeldine. Dan, a point per game as a D-man. If he'd have probably carried it on the whole season, if he was with him the whole season, he played 23 games, got 23 points. He probably would have been challenging Brock for that top point scorer. That is going to be quite a big loss for them going into next season, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I think Charlie said it definitely that it was probably the signing of the in the season, mid-season signing. Yeah. Yeah, defenders like that are so hard to come by because obviously we know how vast the Brit D-men are in this league. And when you find them, they're it's normally a gold mine and you know they're probably not going to stay around for long. We always knew he was going to go up to the Elite League because he does just suit the Elite League. He's just already there, you know what I mean?
A level above from our league, he is.
Yeah.
I think he was the only Brit D man to get a point a game.
Oh,
But
it's
it's just credit to him as well because he's recognised that he can get that opportunity in Telford, and now he's proved even more that he's willing to go up to the elite league. So it's really smart from him too, not to stay in the elite league and just sort of play out the season. He's understood the game, and yeah, credit to him.
and we're going to pump his tires even more. It just shows how good of a coach Tom Watkins is that all these players want to actually come and play for him. And you're seeing a couple new players which will go on to have come over to Telford, and I think they'll be really good because they're young lads, and well, one of them's a young lad, and I just think he'll thrive under Watkins because of how good of a coach he is. So yeah, sixth place. They made the playoffs. They got robbed in terms of they lost because a goal didn't cross the line. It is to mention that they might not have won it. Even if that goal did get ruled out, Peterborough could have still won it, but it's the worst way to go out. And I'll say it now. Scotty McKenzie said that's the most men he's seen cry in a dressing room because of how much it meant to them, and they put in so much hard work at the back end of the season to get there. But they're going to take that momentum into next season, which is what Scott McKenzie talks about. So we'll cut to his interview now. We really hope you enjoy, and hopefully we can have Scotty back another time as well. Hello and welcome back. We've got a really special guest on. Charlie, do you want to introduce him?
Yeah, we'd like to welcome onto the pod today a legend of the second tier English Ice Hockey League. He's won so many trophies and scored a boatload of points. We'd like to welcome on the Telford Tigers captain and legend, Scott McKenzie. How are you doing?
Well, but I'm in South Wales at the moment on holiday, so I'm just having a nice time with the family before the hectic schedule of the season kicks in.
Yeah, how has the off season been? Have you managed to get back on the ice, or are you just enjoying yourself with the family, as you just said?
Yeah, I've been on. I had a one of my friends up in Widnes. I spent some time there. I had a testimonial game, so I was on that, and then I've had a couple of on ice practice sessions. But to be honest with you, with how good it is, I try and stay off as long as I can. And then when it gets to kind of early August, that's when we start ramping up. So it's just mainly off ice exercise, really. And then yeah, the on ice. We play so much and we practice so much that you kind of to maintain the love. I think you got to kind of stay away for a little bit, you know.
Yeah. Obviously you've signed back for another season. You're 38. Was it a no-brainer coming back for another season?
I think so. Telford's obviously, I've played here a long time. I know how it works. I know how Tom works. I'm very comfortable here. I got a wife, a daughter here. So like all that sort of stuff, it just kind of makes it easy. I live 5 minutes from the rink, but I don't. I mean, I just don't think there's anywhere else that would suit my game. And I know that sounds a bit cliche, but like I've just really found a home there, and I'm obviously not from Telford. Spent a lot of time in Scotland, but
Yeah.
I just feel like now to play anywhere else would just feel a bit weird. And I did move away sometimes, but nothing quite ever fit the way that Telford does. So yeah.
Yeah, you've obviously been around a few teams. We'll go into that in a sec. Go on, Charlie.
Yeah, I was just gonna talk about Telford. You've really been part of maybe their re-reign after the EPIHL went down. And you've really took over as one of the leading point scorers. Has Tom Watkins been a huge part of that?
I would say so. He's definitely allowed me to play with a lot of freedom, a lot of not really worry about making mistakes because, as a young player, especially I found out in the elite league when you go out for a shift and you could like create a goal or you could make a nice play, but the next shift you mess up, you're sat on the bench for the rest of that period. So
Yeah.
we don't necessarily need to worry about that. We're allowed to play with a lot of freedom, and if you make a mistake, you're still out in the next shift with that confidence that you can make a good player, or you can be productive. So but I also think that we've kind of given back to Tom with our work ethic, our shot blocking, and as players, we really take pride in our defensive side of the game. And I think that's probably why we've won championships in the past. Guys like Weaver, Silverthorne, Plant, you know, kind of McKinnon when he was here, Tom McKinnon was,
Yeah.
Danny Rose, like all that like core of guys really bought into the way we need to play to win. And it's not to say that we haven't got that now, but I just feel like the league has improved so much that it's kind of made it difficult for us to compete at the top. top level for the last couple of seasons.
Yeah,
You
that
mentioned
call really annoyed me because they beat Swindon to the championship twice. I've got to mention it early on. We lost to you boys twice in two close runs, so it definitely was a strong call.
obviously
Yeah.
you mentioned earlier you don't think you could fit in anywhere else. What is it about Tom Watkins' system which allows you to kind of be free, and your point scoring has been ridiculous the last few seasons and you've get quite consistent with it as well?
I think just comfort and knowing what he wants, how we play, knowing the systems, it all just helps. It all just adds to that comfort and knowing the city and knowing everyone in the ice rink. So when you walk in the ice rink, you feel comfort, and it's pretty much similar to that because they've got so many guys in there for a long time. They just kind of know the ins and outs, and it's just that relationship, I guess, with me and Tom.
Yeah.
It kind of I got married June the 3rd, 2022, and my best man had a stroke before, like a week before the wedding. So Tom stepped in as my best man.
Oh,
So that just kind of tells you how close we are, as a relationship kind of thing. We're really good friends up away from the ice rink as well. But we talk a lot with the team about how we want to, be successful, and I think it's just that relationship. It's just easy, it's natural, and it just makes my life easier, and I'm obviously slowing down, getting a bit older, and just my role maybe changes every year, so there's a little less kind of responsibility, and that kind of gets handed out to guys like Finn Howells, the younger players coming through that need to take on a bit more responsibility.
yeah, I'm sure we'll go into them in a bit. Charlie, go on.
So I was going to take it back to the start of your career. You were You were in the London area of the EPIHL clubs. You moved around quite a lot. You had a really good point record. What was it like back then, being a young 19, 18-year-old Scott McKenzie? To be honest, doing very well in them leagues.
Yeah, I mean the leagues were good, and I was always on teams that had like skilled players. And I was kind of young and hungry and just wanted to play the game. I wasn't earning a huge amount of money. If I did have one regret from those days, it was that the teams I was on didn't really push me like individually to
Yeah.
go to the gym, to work harder, and to be that GB player. And that's where I kind of feel like I let myself down a little bit. I didn't push myself as hard as I should have, but I was just comfortable with scoring 50, 60 points in the EPL when I should have been looking at the Super League, and I should have been thinking, right, that's where I want to go. And I didn't do it at that point, and I feel like now these young players come through, really get pushed, and they really get told what's expected. They're eating the right way. They're going to the gym. Even like guys who are like 14, 15, 16 now, there's a development pathway for them if they're an elite player. And I just didn't feel like we had that, or maybe there was just guys ahead of me at that point that got that opportunity and I didn't. But I definitely regret not pushing myself a bit harder at that age. But not to say I didn't have a great time. I was living in Essex. I was living in Chelmsford, and I made a lot of really good friends. I had a decent job at the time, and the hockey, it was just, again, it was like a comfort. I really enjoyed living there, and that just made my hockey even better. So yeah, Chelmsford was good. Romford was even better. I had such a good time there. Had a year in Slough, which was difficult for me. But again, I made a lot of really good friends. And I think the year that we were in Slough, we had something like 8 or 9 Scottish players on the team.
Oh, nice.
So that just made it like even better for me, to have like some of my ex-junior teammates there.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of fun. So yeah, like a lot of good history from when I was younger.
Yeah.
And it's kind of led to where I am now, I suppose.
Obviously, you were born in Scotland. Elite Prospects doesn't show anything before the under 19s, but did you grow up playing? How did you get into hockey? Was it family, or were you playing it up in Scotland?
Yeah, so it all kind of started. My mum got asked, or she worked for Smirnoff, and she got given some tickets to watch Murrayfield Racers. So her and my dad went along. But I think that was like 85, 86. I was born 86.
Oh.
And then when I was like 3, I think they started to take me to the games. Started skating at 4, and then kind of just led on from there. I played some junior at Edinburgh and Glasgow, but my main junior career, I would say, was with Fife. And I spent a lot of good years there before eventually leaving, because back then, as younger players, as good as we were at junior level, the gap was then to the BNL, which was like in between what was the EPIHL and the Super League.
Yeah.
And they had 8 imports, limited Brits, and we just weren't really getting an opportunity. So yeah, it was tough for us as young kids to get a spot. So I went to Chelmsford, and that was kind of where it all started.
Yeah.
Go on, Chaz. And we talk about the EPIHL days. You got a shot with Edinburgh in the EIHL. What was that season like?
Really interesting. So the very first game we played away to Hull, and I was like umming and on about going there. I just didn't feel like I was good enough, and I felt like the only reason I actually left Chelmsford, my dad was ill, so I went home to kind of help out with him, and then I kind of got speaking to Dundee, who were in the SNL. I played a game or two for them, and then eventually agreed to go to Edinburgh, and they were paying me like we laugh about it now, but like they were paying me in like pound coins, and like it was just a crazy time. Like some of the things that happened that year, and it was such an amazing year because Edinburgh had never finished so high in the Elite League, but yeah, just some of the stupid stuff. Like I don't know, like the leg tape we would use was just it was like the thinnest, crappiest stuff. The sticks we were using at the time were like you'd take it out the wrapper, tape it up, take it on to practice, and it would snap in your hand, and you're thinking, like, what are we doing here? We're meant to be in the Elite League, but like that sort of stuff, you could kind of laugh about it now, but at the time it was really frustrating. And then the very first game we played, we went away to Hull, and I was like third line, fourth guy, so I was just kind of mixing in shifts. Didn't really expect to get much ice. And our coach Doug Christensen blew his knee out first period. He didn't actually play hockey ever again after that injury. It was like really bad injury. So I got slotted in, and I scored 3 goals, and I was like, "Christ, this is easy." Like Elite League first game, no problem. This is sound. And then like as the season went on, I think I finished on like 20 points or something. It was just like I just everything fell to me that night. But then it's a long season, isn't it? And yeah, met some really really good people, guys like Mark Garside, Ben O'Connor, Jeff Hutchins. Some really people I still talk to now. Really good players and really good people. So had a really good year there. And but after that, I just kind of decided then that it was probably not the league for me, given my size. I was a bit smaller than most of the big ex-NHL players that were playing in there. And I just thought, for me, I want to play power play, I want to play penalty kill. And the what was it? The end wasn't the National League then, it was the EPL. Yeah, so I just decided, got talking to Tom and came to Telford.
Yeah, so obviously, was that your first time playing for a Scottish Elite League team, I believe?
Yes.
How was that represent? I know you touched on it there, but how was that representing a Scottish team? Obviously, being a Scottish lad yourself.
Yeah, it's lovely. I mean, obviously, like growing up, it was the very first team I ever watched. I guess the name was slightly different with it not being Murrayfield, but it was definitely nice for my parents to come and watch every week.
Oh yeah.
But cool. on the counter side, like you're not getting the ice time and you're not having as big a responsibility, so it's kind of a double-edged sword. If you like, you want to be playing and you want to be on the ice in the big moments. I think that's what I've kind of learned over the years, is that if I'm playing, I want to be out there when the game is on the line. Yeah, you want to be out the guy who blocks the shot to win you the game, or you want to be the guy who scores the goal to win you the game. And I just wasn't getting that in Edinburgh, and I understand why. But that was just kind of, it was like I say, a double-edged sword where I enjoy being there, but I definitely think that being away from home has definitely suited me better.
Yeah, and I wanted to quickly ask, that year you obviously had the 17 points, but the next year you hit your career high and you top your team in points. What did you learn from playing a year in the Elite League, which you brought into the league below, and you dominated the next season?
I think definitely the defensive side of the game. If you didn't play on the defensive side of the puck in the Elite League, you don't play. I learned that pretty quick. And I spent a lot of time at practice on the penalty kill in the Elite League, because obviously they had their top guys on a power play, so they would chuck us in to block shots and get out there. And I definitely learned, the other side of the game. Whereas before, when I was in Romford and I was or Chelmsford, you were just expected to put up 60, 70 points every season. So I think coming back and having that defensive aspect definitely, helped me out. But like going to Telford, where we had zero money, It was a trust. I don't know if you guys were around when that was happening, but
We
Telford Tide.
we started watching
Well,
just after about 13, 14.
yeah. So like back then when Telford first came back into the EPL, it was ran by a supporters trust.
Oh wow, okay.
So literally the budget was I think it was like £1,800 a week. It was nothing, and we were playing with 5 imports or 4 imports. So you had to have 4 imports housed, and a bunch of young Brits. So
Yeah.
me being on that team as a 25-year-old, I was just playing like 30 minutes a night. So if you're playing 30 minutes a night, you're gonna get points, aren't you?
Yeah.
Playing every situation, that just adds to your ability or your opportunity to, like, for example, like you guys have got a bunch of really good Brits, but your import, like that's Colby Tower.
Yeah.
He always seems to like underwhelm when it comes to his stats. I think like he should be a 80, 90 point guy in
But
our
he's
league. I
he,
think.
but within a 5 import league, me and Charlie have said he'd probably be one of the first guys on your team because of how
Yeah,
depthy he is.
yeah, that's it. So, but for him in our league, I just feel like he doesn't. He's not in the first power play unit.
Hmm.
So that again takes away his opportunity on the power play. And then he's probably playing in the second and third lines most game. And ice time isn't as much as what a top six guy is on a
Yeah.
regular shift. So
We,
like it makes it tough for him to be as productive.
yeah, we were saying this about Gale actually. Gale last season got 58 points for Swindon, but he didn't play on the top power play unit the whole season, and he never played on the top line. So 58 points in that
So
season for Gale was actually really
good
good.
return.
It was a great
Yeah.
productive season, and he probably had a lot of 5-on-5 points. But sometimes fans won't see that because obviously he didn't get
Mhm.
their top PP and top line minutes. He was playing less of the big moment times, I guess.
And he's an absolute nightmare to play against because of the way he uses his size and his strength, right? Because he's a big
Yeah, he
physical
is.
guy. So
Yeah,
yeah, I thought he was a very good import. I did.
I
Yeah.
liked Gale. Yeah.
What when you first signed for Telford, then, you mentioned you got in touch with Tom Watkins. Did you ever think that would be your team? I know you played for a couple other teams as well, but did you ever think that would be your home and you'd still be playing here at the age of 38?
Didn't definitely didn't. And obviously I have kind of gone away and come back, but yeah, like I think going away actually confirmed that I needed to be back in Telford, if that makes
Oh, no.
sense. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know why. But yeah, like nah, I think just signing there as a 25-year-old kid and then seeing the setup and meeting the people, it was like a small family, I guess, where everyone kind of looked out for each other.
yeah,
And yeah, I didn't really look forward. I just kind of went there because it was the right move for me at that time.
yeah,
But I'm glad I did because I wouldn't be where I am now. And that kind of decision, and I feel like all these decisions, when you make them at the time, you don't realize the consequences of them.
yeah,
But looking back, I'm grateful that I definitely did that.
yeah.
Mhm. And later on, you did a career move. I'm sure you'll be able to explain to us, but it's got one of the most fascinating stat lines I've ever seen. You scored 128 points in 28 games in the National Two League. You were the top point scorer in that league by over 30 points. What made you go down to the National Two for a year?
I think opportunity. And the red hockey days were still going at Telford, and I didn't
Yeah,
really agree with what was going on at that moment.
yeah,
I'm like red hockey is a very touchy subject for us in Telford because we feel like there's a lot of good that came from it, but there's also a lot of bad that came from it. And yeah, so at that point, I was just really unhappy with how things were. We had won 2 trophies. I think we got shellacked in the playoffs by somebody in
Was it
Coventry. I
was
can't
it
remember
Milton
who it was.
Keynes?
Nah, it was the year before that. It was. I think it might be Peterborough or something.
You got
But
Slaven.
yeah, that would be about right, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
They had the goalie, the import goalie.
Oh,
Oh,
Do you remember?
Orsins.
Orsins was
Austin.
so good.
Yeah,
And when we beat them to win the league
yeah.
in their rink, and I think they knocked us out of the playoffs. So it was
Oh,
like retribution.
that
It's
that
funny how
that
Peterborough
season.
seemed to knock us out of the playoffs, isn't it?
that season, that season though, you won the league by I think nearly 20 points. I know you
Yeah,
mentioned the red hockey, but how was that season? You had some ridiculous players, obviously Zabo Bebrea, who we know well. He went to Swindon as
yeah.
well, Silverthorne as well. How was playing in that team?
It was easy. It was easy. Like the easiest year of hockey I've ever had. It just felt like, and it didn't feel like we had to turn up to win. It just felt like we were just better than everyone.
Yeah,
A bit how like Leeds probably feel now. You know, they
yeah,
just turn up
probably.
and you just know you're going to win. That like confidence. Like our third line was me, Rick Plant, and Blaho Novak. You know, so it was just yeah. If one line wasn't going, the other two would.
Yeah,
And it was a really really good year to be a part of. So yeah, like we had not only like good players, good people, and we
yeah,
say this all the time, and it's again cliche, but like if you haven't got good people, and you're gonna struggle. You really need good guys, and that's what Max, Silves, Weaves, Peter, even like guys like Martin Andre kind of get forgotten about.
yeah.
He was a massive part of that team because of his defensive capabilities. So yeah, like real fun to play in, good to win trophies, and that was my first trophy as a Tiger or as a
Really?
hockey player actually. Like a senior professional, yeah, for sure.
Oh,
Um,
awesome.
but yeah, so go back to that year before in Widnes. It kind of the reason I went there was because it was like the opportunity to be a player coach, to be in the community, raising the awareness. Widnes had only been going about 4 years. The rink had literally just opened,
Yeah,
and I felt like I could have a really good input into the progression of that club, that junior setup, and raise the profile of it. That was why I went there, and they paid me a salary, so I didn't have to work. I was just doing that. It enabled me to get on the property ladder. I was able to buy a house, so it just kind of for it was more for a life choice rather than a
yeah.
hockey
Yeah.
choice.
It's
But it
not
all just kind of fit at
wow.
that point.
It's
And yeah,
nice to see Widnes actually in the National One now, in the third
Yeah.
tier.
we actually went
And
there once because
they're
they played
16th
the
now.
Chiefs.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
The
that
Chiefs,
rink.
Swindon played against the Chiefs and they used Widnes's ice. So we've been there once, and they,
No way.
I think they have a Nando's next to their rink, so that
That's
was
right.
quite
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't have about 300 people in the building. They're not allowed like it's limited capacity, isn't it? They're not allowed
yeah,
many fans in.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing about the Telford rink is the Nando's.
yeah.
It's getting better, Telford, you know. It's
Yeah,
got a
it is.
bad
No,
rep for
the
like
town's pretty
for the,
decent there.
yeah, it is much better now. They've spent a lot of money on redevelopment and yeah, they've done a really good job. Like obviously having a child 4 year old, you know, like we can go over the town park is just amazing. They've got wet play and everything. So, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
like for kids and like tourism, it's really picked up.
Do you think
Mhm.
that will help fans coming to watch the Tigers as well? Because when we went before, it was that final playoff game. We won't talk about now. We will talk about that. But before that final playoff game, it was just rammed with people and rammed with kids with their families and stuff. Do you think that will increase ticket sales possibly?
I mean, you hope so. I just feel like everything kind of ramps up to the end of the season, and you always seem to get bigger crowds like
Yeah,
at the end of the year. But when we go back in August, it's always a bit slow. It's like a slow burn trying to get everyone back in the building.
yeah,
Um, Tom does like a really good job of like raising awareness and being out in the community. He's always got sponsors on board, and you know it's difficult. I don't know why. Even when we were winning and we were winning all the time, we still couldn't sell out. And I don't know what it is. I don't know why it's like that. But even Red Hockey struggled to fill that building.
yeah,
You know, and they were winning trophy after trophy.
Mhm.
So I don't know what it is. We do slightly compete with Telford United, but they play on a Saturday. So really, it might just be a financial thing for people. It's just
possibly.
it
Yeah,
is a big cost, and you know we go to other buildings like Leeds yourselves, Milton Keynes. You know they've got 2,500 people in the building. You think how are we even competing with this team when we've
Yeah.
got 800, 900 in our building? But we
it's
always do.
it's
We always
800,
we
900
always
loyal fans, which I think is
yeah,
quite good for
it's
you
key.
guys. It's same with
Yeah.
Swindon actually. We've got those 800, 900 fans who will come in every single week and watch the team. So I think that's quite underrated for a team like Telford, who are one of the older teams.
Yeah, definitely. No, I'd agree with that. And we're grateful for the support we do get, and I feel like last year was. I said it in my press release actually. Like it was the loudest the building's been in a long time. People
Fans
really
got
got
behind last year, 100%.
100%. And even on the road, we had way more fans coming. We went to Solway three times, and we had over 100 people come to Solway. I think
it's a good little trip
amazing.
up there, to be fair.
Oh, it's so
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
It's one of the funnest trips
Yeah.
you do if you're a fan.
How long did it take you guys?
5.5.
Yeah,
5.5 to
6 on the
hours.
coach.
It's a long day, that, isn't it? Did you
But
stay
then
over?
you
Double
think,
header.
yeah, it was a double header.
So sick.
Ah, even better.
Got nice with the
So did you go
fixtures,
to the
eh?
one bar in Solway? Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously, what is it like having a Scottish team in the National League? What was your first reaction when Solway joined? Because they were tearing up the NIHL one, so I think it was due for them to come up, and fair play to them for doing it.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's important that we don't just say no, you're not allowed in. I think we have to like kind of let these teams in if they're capable and if they're willing to compete. And I think they more than competed last year. They were a good team. I would like to see another couple, if I'm honest. I think like Edinburgh are bringing in. I think Hogmanay had about 2,000 people in their building, maybe a little bit less.
Yeah.
They're bringing a lot.
If if Edinburgh are doing that, they can compete in our league for sure. They'd be able to spend the money to compete in our league. And I feel like Dundee, the Rockets or Fife, the Kestrels. I just feel like there's capability for these teams to put rosters together that could compete. It's just about the travel, and I understand it's a lot for the players, for the staff, teams to get to and from, but I feel like if we're going to Solway anyway, what's stopping us from going another 2 hours to Edinburgh, and then heading home? You could have an early afternoon game or something. It's just about making the league better. Ultimately, that's got to be the number one focus, and making sure that we don't rock the boat so much that it falls on its arse, because we don't want I don't want to say what Red Hockey did, because Red Hockey definitely raised the standard, but when that happens, and you keep raising the standard and you keep raising the standard, soon enough teams will say we just can't keep spending like
The
this,
lower
and
teams
they
just
fall out.
fall off, and the gap becomes
They
bigger,
just
doesn't
fall
it?
off.
I was going to
And
ask
it becomes what's the point? And you don't want that.
Yeah, I was literally just about to ask this. I was going to ask, where do you think the league's heading? Because you have got teams like Slough at the lower end of the fans. We know they get the least amount of fans in the league, but then you've obviously got Milton Keynes, who have this season, and this I don't blame them. They've got the biggest fan and the biggest budget, but they've got four line 7D top players.
And a
Where do
third
you think the
line,
league's
which could
heading?
probably be a second line for a lot of teams.
It's
What
an interesting
what
debate.
what do you make of the state of the league and where it's going?
I think it's good. I think the teams are good. And Milton Keynes are going to be good, but do you see them beating Leeds? There's a counter question.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I'm just wondering from a fan point, is the league going to get potentially top heavy, or do you think it's not going that direction?
There's always that risk, because like I said, if teams keep spending and spending and spending, the problem you have is if teams are paying for players that aren't worth what they're getting.
yeah.
So if guys are getting 400, 500, £600 a week, but they're not worth that money, that's where you've got a problem within the league. The way you solve it is by having a rigid budget that teams all agree to stick to, and then you'll get parity within the league. But that's never going to happen, because teams can just pay their wives, or they can pay under the table, or they can make little kind of side payments to then pay the players. So so it's challenging, but it's just clear that certain teams are spending more. But for us, like little old Telford, we just kind of crack on and build what we can, and do what we can to compete. And I'm pretty sure it's the same for. Yeah, well, we try. I would like us. I would like us to be competing in the cup, to be competing in the league, and also to make the playoffs with a chance of winning it. It's a one trophy we've never won. We've been close a few times, but we've never really looked like winning it. And I felt like last year was our chance, and we've kind of got screwed a little bit. But Yeah, you can't. As much as it's and you guys were the first ones to put the video out. It was
Yeah, we
like,
put up straight away.
oh, but ultimately, the one thing I stood in front of the referee when he was like telling me it went in, and you kind of got to give it to him because he was adamant it crossed the line. And
Yeah.
if he's adamant and he's made the decision, I don't want him to change his mind because
Yeah.
then he's just going to look stupid.
Oh yeah,
I'm quite
yeah,
happy that he stuck with his guns, and it's not on him; it's on the league to provide the clear evidence that the puck didn't cross the line.
yeah.
And it's slightly frustrating for us because our season ended there and whatever. But ultimately, the referee, you can't blame him. He's just
Yeah.
made the decision and
Is
he
that
stuck to it. And
something?
fair play
Is
to
that
him.
something you think the league could take a next step in? Because I know every team has streams now, and me and Charlie have said it doesn't necessarily have to be in every league game you have these video reviews, but on cup games and games at Coventry where you get that access in the penalty box because they have it in the Elite League. Do you think there should be some
Mm-hmm.
coaches challenge replays if a team thinks it didn't cross the line?
100%.
Yeah,
If the ability to do it is there, we should be doing it. There should be
yeah,
no question. I know Tom has a tablet on the bench where he can like look at the game as it's going on. But yeah, I just think like there's no reason for us to not do it if the ability to do it is there. But it's about the financial cost to each team. If certain teams can't afford to do it, then we
yeah.
can't do it because everybody needs to be on board. We can't just say, yeah, we're going to do it when Milton Keynes play at home because I don't know if you will have watched the Milton Keynes stream or do you go to the games? Because their
We go
stream
to
is
the game.
fantastic and they
Oh,
have like
yeah,
overhead cameras of the goal.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like they've definitely got the ability to do it. It's just about us being able to do it, and I'm not sure at Telford. It's because if you think about it, it's not only having the ability to look at it; it's having the people behind the scenes to then access that
Yeah,
footage within split-second decision.
yeah.
So like you're adding another 2 or 3 volunteers that are high tech camera people who know what they're doing. So there's a lot of like stuff that goes into it that I just feel like the league probably isn't there yet, but
Yeah.
it's certainly somewhere where a semi-final or a final, we should be doing it, and we should just be
Yeah, yeah.
hosting the semi-finals and finals in those rinks that have the ability to do it.
That's why you
Um,
said that's what we said in terms of if one team can't do it, then I don't think we should do it because it has that
totally.
slight unfair a bit. But in a cup game or as Coventry, like you said, and also as well, me and Charlie looked at this other view of saying like I know you guys went out and that was heartbreaking to go out on a goal which didn't go in, but equally Peterborough could have even gone on to win it in the overtime if it got called off anyway. So it's kind of like an undecided
Yeah,
kind of game, if you know what I mean.
that's it. Yeah, it's one of them where you know. Listen, at that point, it was heartbreaking. Like I've never seen so many men crying. Like it was
Really?
devastating because of the way we lost. Yeah, it was devastating. But you kind of all that's going to do is fuel the fire for this season, right? Because
Oh,
we feel like we
Oh,
were
mate.
we went out unjust, and
Yeah.
it is what it is. It's hockey, and it's again I stick by what I said. The referee's decision, he stood by it. He made the
Oh,
decision, and it was wrong, but that's okay. We can live with
the
that.
refs
I'm
need
just
the refs need the help. The NHL refs make
100%.
mistakes and they get
Yep.
their video replays to back them up. So they're only human. What did you make of last season then? Because as you said, it's quite an up and down season for Telford. You had some bans and injuries. I know other teams do as well, but you managed to get that playoff spot. A lot the favourites were obviously Swindon and Milton Keynes. You managed to top the group. I know Charlie predicted Telford to top the group, but you
That's all right.
managed to top the group, get to playoffs, and I think it was a really strong end to the season, and we really saw Pekka and Sutton as well come into their own near the end of the season.
Yeah, I think those guys really found it difficult to settle. But Jaden came in. Jaden came in about October because we were meant to have a guy called Brady Hepner, and then he had some injury issues, so he couldn't play. So he left us in with 2 imports at the start of the season. So before we'd even played a game, we were down an import.
Yeah,
First game away to Solway, second period, Danny Rose blows his knee out, so he's out for 18 months. So like little things like that, you're just thinking this isn't going to be good.
Exactly.
But I think once we kind of turned after Christmas to January, we really caught fire. And we started to play some good hockey. We were resilient. We were tough to beat. I thought Brad was excellent the last kind of half of the season as well. And I think with him in net, you always have a chance. He's such a good goalie, and he's very relaxed. So when he's behind you, you kind of feel like you don't need to worry. So yeah, I think we did a pretty good job. Oh, I think the family are just coming back.
That's all right.
Sorry, 2 secs.
That's all right.
I'll be 5 minutes. If you can come in, I'm just. They've just been at the beach.
Oh,
I
nice.
ran back.
It's great weather. It's great weather for it.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I just feel like we kind of caught fire at the imports, kind of found their feet, and you bring 2 new guys in, it's tough for them to they're living in a different country, they're unsure about the game, and they kind of figured it out. And I think as well, like chemistry within lines, it sometimes takes a bit of time. And from January onwards, I just felt like we were on fire. We had some really good games, and then in playoffs, we've always got this kind of, I don't know, it's like something switches. It's like a mindset, and we've been there before. We beat Milton Keynes last year, and we just felt like we could do it again. So things just went our way. Yeah, no complaints. And obviously, you guys rolled overs for us in the last game, so that was nice.
Oh no comment.
To be fair, I know a lot of people, a lot of MK fans thought we were throwing the game. You guys did just come out all guns blazing. Charlie was mentioning it. That is the most locked in I've ever seen Pekka. He was just locked in for that game, and everything on his stick just turned into a goal.
But you got to consider, like, we're playing last game of the season. Like, that's effectively
this was do or
the way
die
we
for you
looked at
guys.
it. And everyone thinks that Swindon started Tyler, but they didn't. They started Rennie, but we chased them out the net after 3 goals.
Yeah.
So like they're even saying that you started your backup, but you didn't. And no. I just think it's a bit daft. Like that any team would turn up and just throw the game. So yeah,
because if we'd have topped the group, we wouldn't have had to play Leeds as well. So credit to you guys for getting that win and finishing top.
Yeah, that's it. No, it was good. It was a big win for us, and it felt nice to end our kind of home season game with a big win. So and we always find it tough against Swindon. They're like a bit of a bogey team. So
we had your number last year. So moving on to next year, I wanted to talk about a couple of the players, but one of the players in particular, I think you could potentially say he's the face of the Telford hockey at the moment, and that would be Finley Howes. How good is he? And his development has just been insane.
He's ridiculous.
His expectations for next season is again, he got 83 points last year. He's on for 100 maybe.
Yeah. I think Finn kind of sets his own standards. He's a very intelligent hockey player. He's got a wicked shot. He skates really well. He's direct, so he doesn't kind of dilly-dally. He takes on defensemen. He will take the puck to the net, and he's got a wicked release. So all those kind of attributes really make him a really big threat when he's on the ice. He can kind of score from anywhere. And yeah, he's been a big part of our team. He's taken on a leadership role last season with an A. And I think he's probably the future of the Tigers. He's the next captain once I kind of step aside. So we're very lucky that he's a local kid, and he's someone that we're really proud to have part of our organisation. And I think that if anyone's going to chase down my tally, it's going to be him for sure, and he'll probably do it very quickly.
Well, we hope he, as well as performs in our league, we really hope that he gets his shot in the elite league as well. And what do you make of all these 2 ways? Obviously, Finley and Rhodes have got a 2-way with Belfast, and I think that's really good. I don't know if they'll train with them because it's a plane journey away, but even if they get a few games and get in the team, I think Finley especially really deserves that 2-way opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. Finn and Rhodes, right? You forget how young they are. I definitely forget how young they are because it feels like they've been here forever as well. But yeah, to go over there, they're going over there, I think, this week for 2-week training camp. So then before we start, they've already been on the ice for 2 weeks, skating with, some elite hockey players. So that's only going to benefit them and us, really. So yeah, they're both going to play big minutes for us. And when the opportunity comes, maybe during the week or any sort of games, maybe Coventry, Manchester, something like that, they'll go up and play those games and help out those the Belfast Giants when they're needed. So for us, it's great because they're getting that extra exposure. They're obviously both very talented hockey players.
Yeah.
But for us, it's good that they get that extra couple of weeks training behind them, and then hopefully they'll come out the gates hot for us.
One of the things which stands out most about the roster this season, I think, is the depth. And obviously, you've got that Tom Watkins pull, and he's arguably the best coach in the league, along with Slava and mine and Charlie's opinion. But you've managed to sign, obviously, Adam Hardin, Landsberg, who's scored some decent points at this league, and then you've kept hold of quite a few youngsters. Newell's one, which I think goes under the radar, especially at just 20 years old. How excited are you to have the depth this season? Maybe doesn't put the pressure on you too much to eat up 25, 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's like, I think you hit the nail on the head with Louis Newell. The skill level on
So
that kid
underrated.
is through the roof. If you think his skill level is good at ice hockey, at roller hockey, it's even better.
Is it?
So yeah, he's one of them players that, like, maybe who's going to eat up a lot of minutes, but also has the ability to move into your top six if you have injuries or you have anything like that. Harding, I think, is going to come in straight away and just have leadership. He's just going to be leadership all about him. He's going to be someone he's fit, he's a good guy, and he wants to win. So he fits in straight away. And Eddie, I've kind of followed for the last few years, and we think that he's going to be a really good depth piece for us. Someone who's going to kind of chip in with hopefully 30, 40 points. That'd be amazing. But a young lad like Bert, who's 6'2", doesn't really get much spotlight. But at the end of the last season and in the playoffs, he played a bit more heavy. He was battling, chipped in with a goal here or there. And I think someone like that could perhaps have a breakout year. Very good player for us, and someone who comes back consistently year on year. He gets better. And he's another nice kid who fits into the way that Tom wants to build his team. So I think another guy I'd like to call out is our new import, Devin Skaleski. I think
he looks like a joke.
His CV's a joke.
So his background, I'm really excited to see what he brings to the table, and I think he could be something special. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of high level imports coming into our league. Go on, Charlie.
Yeah, his CV looks great. Just give us your thoughts on obviously Devon. I can't pronounce that surname. And Zachary Yamamoto. Yeah,
Yokoyama.
Yeah, I butchered that. I'm out, boys.
He's rubbish. Charlie's rubbish at
Would have called
pronouncing.
that all year now.
That's an interesting one.
Right.
Another young import.
What do you guys think about that signing?
I think the fact he's only 21 years old, apparently Nottingham, no disrespect, weren't very great, and he's going to come in under one of the best coaches with younger players. I think he's one who might stay for a couple seasons, and you'll see him get better and better each season. What do you reckon?
Super skilled. We've seen him on the ice. He's been skating with us for a little while.
Yeah.
He has plenty of ability. He's gritty. He blocks shots. He fights. And when you add all those things up, it's kind of like a no-brainer to take someone like that on. I think if you could get him as a Brit, it would be like a diamond in the rough, and I think many teams would be fighting over him. But as an import at this point, I don't see any risk behind signing him, and I think that Tom's made a really good decision there to bring him in.
Yeah,
and all the questions have been about his attitude, his behaviour. Don't worry, we will get that under wraps if that becomes a problem. So
we have no doubts you will under Tom.
Yeah. So that sort of stuff, I just feel like is bred from the environment he was in, perhaps, and this year is going to be in a completely different environment with people around him who'll be, hold on to account.
Yeah,
and could I say, I think this is fair to say, you guys obviously are not one of the biggest budgets in the league. I don't know where you'd stand in terms of budgets around the league, but you do have to take risks on potential imports who are like Yokohama, a lower pedigree import, but has a high potential.
It worked with Luca.
He could work well. We saw it Sheffield.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Glad as well. Would you say he's one of them imports where maybe if he develops with you for 2-3 years, he could be one of the top guys? But for now, he's a lower budget guy who's going to fill a big role for you.
definitely. I think our budget's in the bottom three of the league. That's
Oh
where we
wow.
are, I believe. So yeah, I think Zach coming in is definitely a low risk, high reward.
Yeah.
Someone who could hit the ground running, or it might take him a few weeks. But I think the one thing you got to factor in is he's been in the country 3 years.
Oh
He
yeah.
knows the game. He knows the style. He knows what he's coming into. And he has been skating with us, and he's one of the best players on the ice. So you kind of got to think, well, we'll just give it a go and see what happens. And
There's
yeah, like I said, it's a no brainer. It's a like whatever happens, we'll give it a go, and hopefully, like we say, he hits the ground running.
What's your targets then going into next season? Obviously, 38. I'm not sure if it's confirmed you'll be the captain. You don't have to say anything if you are or not.
Mm.
But what's your targets for next season on a personal level and also for Telford themselves?
I think I don't really worry about points or anything like that. It just kind of happens. I just kind of look at the team. We want to win games. So personally, I'm not really bothered. My overall game is for us to win a trophy, multiple
Yeah,
trophies. That's what we want to do as a club. It's obviously a lot more challenging now. Teams are just raising the game every single year,
yeah,
but we feel like we are too. So
yeah, absolutely.
we'll give it a go. And you know, personally, I'd love to lift a trophy as captain if I remain. I believe I am. He's not told me otherwise. Yeah, we'll go from there.
Charlie, you always end with this question. We
Yeah,
appreciate you having
it's
you
been a
coming on, Scotty.
it's been a really good podcast, and we
No
do
worries.
you have a good restful of your holiday, and you
Thanks.
get ready for the season. But what is your message to the Telford Tiger fans?
All 800 of them.
all
Um,
800, and at the
And
end of the
even
season,
more.
all 1,000 of them.
yeah. No, listen, like I love playing in Telford. Everyone knows that. But we just need your support as ever. Just
Yeah.
be as loud and as vocal as you can, and turn up in your droves. That's all we can ask. We'll give you a team to be proud of.
Yeah, it's looking like an exciting team. I'm really glad the Wi-Fi's held up. We
Oh
might not
no.
have seen your face moving much, but we've certainly heard everything, and we'd love to have you back on at some point during the season. I'm sure you got more stories to tell as well.
Amazing. No, hey lads, you're doing a great job. Swindon
Oh,
should be proud to have you representing them. So well done.
appreciate that. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Scotty.
All right, you take.
Back. Thank you very much, Scott McKenzie, for hopping on. Charlie did a funny little, he's taking a mick out of me there, but no, we really do appreciate McKenzie for hopping on the podcast. A really good interview. Talks about the team next season, a couple of players, and that's what we're going to talk about now. Looking through their roster, ready for next season. It does look like quite an exciting roster, with quite a few new faces, especially forward wise, and they've got a lot more depth this season. But we'll start with a familiar face in goal, and that is Brad Day. Dan, he's been one of the most consistent goalies. He plays 54 games a season, and he makes it look easy. And he's signed back up for this season. It's probably one of Watkins' first signings, isn't it, on that sheet?
Yeah, so huge to have him back. Again, I couldn't really imagine him playing anywhere else, to be honest. He's at the point of his career now where he's just sort of settled in that team. But yeah, the guy is an absolute warrior. He just makes it look effortless in goal. And when he's on it, he's probably one of the best in the league. He he just stops every puck, and yeah, he's just unreal. He's really good at playing the puck as well. That's another little underrated thing I find about him.
Yeah.
He's really good at playing the puck up the ice and finding those forwards up on the blue line and the red line.
I think the thing that impresses me most about Brad Day is how calm he is. If he does have a bad night at the office, he's not going to lose his head. He knows it's not life or death. He has a bit of a laughing joke if the Swindon fans are giving him a bit of banter and jet, and he'll put his glove up even if they're losing. So we like that about Brad Day, and
Time
I
six
think that's
past
part.
day. Woo.
I think that's part of. What did you say?
What's the time? 6 past 8. Woo.
Oh, was that one of our little chants, was it?
Yeah, I don't
But
know.
no, on a real, like, I think that's been part of his success because he doesn't take it too seriously where it gets in his own head. I think as a goalkeeper, that's so important. And McLaughlin talked about that when we interviewed him, that you just have to you have to enjoy it. And I think Brad Day enjoys playing hockey every season for the Telford Tigers. So that's a really, really good re-sign. And they've got Matty Bloor, who probably won't play too many games this season. We're expecting Brad Day to play a lot of games, but he is a young goalie. He's younger than me by a couple years. So he's a young goalie who can step in, and he might get a couple games this season. Let's move on to the D then. And the D which are returning, we've got Deacon Field, obviously, one of the tough guys in the league. Will play that third line D role. We've got Daniel Rose, who actually got announced that he is coming back, but Charlie mentioned and Scotty mentioned that he got a big injury last season. I think that will go into next season a little bit, but as soon as he's got rid of that injury, he will be able to come back in the team. So that's quite a key re-sign, and hopefully the recovery is quite quick for him, so he can come straight back into the team. Ryan Lease, someone I want to mention. I think he watches the pod a bit. A very good young defenseman who's improved a lot under Watkins, and he was playing some big minutes last season, Dan.
Yeah, he was, and especially in the playoffs as well. I really noticed him leading up to Coventry too. Yeah, he's another guy, another Brit D man that you just got to keep hold of because he is going to be something special. I think. He's still really young. He needs to sort of bulk up a bit more. I think grow into his body a bit more to be in that back end on the D. But he's really good at carrying the puck around, and yeah, he's really good at whizzing around the boards as well.
Only 17 years old as well, so he's still going to
He's
have
still
to.
got time.
He's
A
still
lot
going to
of
have to
time.
wear the cage next season. But it will just, as you said, it will come with time. It will naturally just get bigger, stronger. And the fact that he was playing so much minutes last season, he's kind of got used to the weight of the league as well, which I think is so key for him. Charlie, Nick Oliver, someone who has been around the league for a long time, and he's got that big bulk, and he's an absolute beast. He's got a wicked slap shot. He's back for another season, and again, he's someone who goes under the radar. He might not be visually one of the quickest players, but he's got the hockey IQ, doesn't he?
He's very solid D man, and I think he'd go in pretty much every team in the league. Does his job really well, and as we said, I think he scored past Swindon this year. He has a cannon of a shot. When he winds up and he slaps it, it's quite scary. But yeah, he's a good D man. And he's one of them guys who's been at Telford for a while, and you know what you're getting from him. He may get caught every now and again by some of the young players, but I think he does a very decent job for Telford.
Another D-man who's back next season is Jake Price. Charlie, he played some top-line minutes last season to complement Archie Hazeldine, and he's just another defenseman who Tom Watkins can trust.
I'd say he's probably one of Telford's better D-men. I think he's growing into his own very well. And what age is he? Does anyone know? Because I think
he's 2000, so he's 24.
24, so I think he's got a couple more years to improve until he steps into his prime. I'd probably say, if any hockey players are watching, please tell me if I'm wrong, but I'd say D-men take a little bit longer to get into their prime years. I'd say their prime years are probably 28, 29.
Yeah,
it takes a
around that.
bit longer to develop as a D-man, so he's still developing, and I think he's very important piece to this Telford team, which I'd say is probably weaker on the D end than they have been in previous years, and so he will be playing a top four role, and it will be an important top four role. He will probably be on their top pair with a player who's probably very talented, maybe Rhodes Mitchell-King.
Yeah, well, you've gone straight into the next player, and that's Rhodes Mitchell-King. He is 21 years old. He's just got his two-way opportunity with Belfast. He has been quite a big bolster to that defense for Telford, and yeah, he's been needed as well. He's the guy who can run the power play. Obviously, they had Hazeldine come in, but I'm sure he'll go back to that role, Dan.
Yeah, I really rate him. I've always rated Rhodes Mitchell-King. I think he's got a really good hockey IQ. Again, he can carry the puck really well. He can use his body. He's quite tall. I think he's around like 6'2", 6'3", something like that. But yeah, he's going to be another one that's going to be really good for the future. And I'm sure Tommy Watkins is definitely looking to try and keep hold of him. But if that opportunity does come around, I'm sure Tommy Watkins won't be holding him back.
Oh yeah, I think we've mentioned it quite a bit. He'll get his opportunities possibly when Belfast play a team which is close to Telford, maybe like Coventry or something, and he can get his opportunity on a bench and maybe get some minutes. So yeah, really big season for Rhodes. I think it's going to be a very good one, especially with Hazeldine not there. I think this is his chance, a full season of him now. So I'm excited to see what happens. Sorry, someone they did lose is Henry Adams. A guy you know you can trust in this league. He's played in there for a few seasons. He's obviously gone back to Sheffield, but they have bought a replacement in who's on a two-way. And I'm going to try and pronounce it. I've been told off, not told off, but a couple of people have tried to help me pronounce it. But Noah Karalanen, Karalanen. Sorry if I pronounced that
Good
wrong.
attempt from Miles.
But he is a part Finnish, part British defenseman. He's only 17 years old. I really do think by the end of the season we're going to see him play quite a few games because if we're looking at his CV, Charlie, let me just get it up. He's played in some under 18s leagues in Europe, and we know what Europe leagues are like. They're quite nailed in on getting the basics right. And he's obviously played GB under 18s as well. So I think it will be quite a good season for him.
Yeah, I think he's actually got a bit of opportunity here. Like I said, they've lost Adams and Hazeldine this year. Dine, I don't know. But they've lost them two, and there's a spots to be grabbed here. Prove your worth and get your spot. And I think he's got National One and National League two-way, and I think this is a great example of where a two-way should work really well. Really, really well. It should really help him develop, and I'm sure Tom Watkins will do a good job, won't he?
Yeah. Moving on to the forward core then. They have lost obviously two imports in Jaden Pecker and Sutton. And yeah, we wish them all the best for the rest of their career. They seem like really nice guys, and they obviously dropped us that message at the end of the season. They were absolutely gutted, by the way, that I guess they got robbed out of that goal, which shouldn't have counted. But they have got rid of them, and they've brought in a couple new ones, which we'll go into a second. But let's go through a couple of the players they've re-signed, because they have re-signed pretty much most of their roster from last season. Thomas Bryn, he's a youngster, 21 years old, 20 years old. I think McKenzie, I couldn't quite hear
Yeah,
it, but I
Scott
think
said that he thinks Bryn's going to break out this year.
yeah, he's the one who said he's got the build for our league. He picked up a couple of points at the back end of the season, and Tom Watkins gave him a bit more ice time as well. So he's one to definitely look out for. Who's going to play a bit more minutes. You've obviously got Louis Newell, who we mentioned. He's only 20 years old, man, and yeah, he put up 28 points last season. That's only going to improve, and he's someone I really like, Charlie, and we've talked about him a lot because he hasn't really been mentioned too much as one of those younger guys.
Yeah, I didn't realize he's 20. I thought he was a lot older than that. So
Yeah.
yeah, sorry, Louis, but you're a very good hockey player.
He is a very good hockey player. Charlie, I'm going to ask you again. Sorry, Dan. You mentioned to me the other
No problem,
day, Lucas Price. You think he's gone under the radar a bit? He obviously had that injury. He obviously has had a couple bans as well, but he suits this league very, very well.
I'd have Lucas Price in my team
Yeah.
any day of the week. I think he's sick. He's 19 years old. I'm not talking sick as in throwing up. I'm talking sick and in good player. He got 10 points in 25 games. GB under 20 player. Year before got 12 points in 50 games. He's phenomenal. Physical, fights, cross checks you. Just a rat who's good at ratting. Like, and I know if he's listening, he'll take that as a big compliment because he does his job well. He just gets under people's skins. He got the ban for cross checking Lawrence in the head. I didn't know whether that was a ban or not. I don't know if you remember that one, but
That was quite soft, I thought.
he's a
I was
phenomenal
at the game.
he's a phenomenal little player, I think, and I think he can get under people's skins, and he's one of them players I think who can change a game by being annoying. He can
Gets the fans on board
fight
as well.
someone or make a big hit or something like that, and I think he can change the momentum of games, and they're the type of players I want in my team.
Another one who's a bit like that, Dan, and he's more of a veteran. He's an older one who kind of broken out this season. He played 37 games, which is more than I thought. But he scored 19 points, and that's Mr. James Smith. He adds a bit of. He's only what 5'6", but he adds a bit to that team, doesn't he? And getting 19 points when he hadn't played in the National League for many, many years, that's not bad going.
Yeah, he adds that Scottish little anger to
Yeah.
the team. Yeah, he gets fired up. He throws the body around. He's quite small, but I think he's quite well built, so he
Yeah.
can still
He
throw the
is,
body
yeah,
around
yeah.
on the boards and hold his own. But yeah, he's another guy that's so important to a team because, like I said, Telford are such a big momentum team, and if you're going to gain momentum from a hit or a few little chippy plays, they're the perfect players to look at. Lucas Price, James Smith,
Yeah.
They're the ones that are going to build. They're going to get the team going and sort of get them out on the ice for the next shift and get them a goal.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to watching him for a full season next season. And he's another depthy guy, which will just chuck in those points. And we'll talk about McKenzie. He needs no intro. Obviously, he talked about at the end there. He doesn't really care about his points. He knows that the points will come. But I think Charlie, because of how much depth they've got this season, with a lot of youngsters coming in, it does take a bit of points pressure off McKenzie, and he can almost be that veteran and nurture those younger lads.
I still think he'll slap up points.
Oh, he still will. He still
I
will.
think he'll hit similar
Comes
to
natural to him. He got the most points he's got for the last 3 seasons this season. He got 79.
I think they'll probably play him on a line with Finn Howard again. I think he works really well with Finley. Yeah, he's just really good at hockey. Good Telford player, and there's a reason they've won 3 leagues with him, but 2 in the last 4 years. And yeah, I think he's a big complement piece. He's one of them guys you put him on a line with someone else, and he makes other players better.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to see. They're the best players to have, and I think he'll be with one of the 2 new imports, and I think he'll really help raise the bar of them imports. I'm hoping to see him, Finn Howes, and the Canadian fella on the same line together, because I think that would be wicked.
Yeah, we'll go into that in a second. The final one re-signing is Finley Howes, and I know we spoke a bit about him. Charlie, you said some nice stuff about him, so we won't go too much into him. But again, he's on that 2-way with Belfast, just like Mitchell King. We hope he gets some opportunities when Belfast play down here. If he got 83, let me just check. If he got 81 points last season, again, he's probably going to put those similar numbers up this season, playing on those top lines, arguably playing with. Wow, we'll go into it in a set, but the guy looks ridiculous, this Canadian, and he could create a really, really nice partnership with him. So Finley Howes is back, which is nice to see. Let's go on to sorry, the final one is an import, and that is Vladimir Luka. Dan, 51 or 52 goals last season. I don't think he'll put up another 50, but because they've got quite a few new players who can get some goals, it does, again, it just like McKenzie, it takes the pressure off him to get that many goals to help him this season.
Yeah, another thing with him as well, obviously, like you were saying, they've got a bit more depth this season. It could mean he might see a bit of a role where he goes down a few lines. And again, he's going to be with the younger players, so they can help carry. Yeah, they can help carry the puck. And he's got an unbelievable hockey IQ. Then again, that's going to be scoring depth. He's going to be getting the goals. You know he's going to score goals. Obviously, he might not get 50, but you know he's going to put the puck in the back of the net. Yeah. And put him on like a third line, even a third line, second line. It's just more depth scoring. And I think depth is so important now. And to have a guy like that still playing is just really good. And the fact he's still putting up the points and putting the puck in the back of the net, he can play in the special teams. He is just a really good player.
Yeah, I'll go into someone who I think he should play with in a second, but we'll start with the Brits who they've brought into the team. Oh, sorry, Harry Ferguson. Shout out to Harry Ferguson. He said he would come on the pod at some point. He's just really busy with work.
Nando's. He's a nice.
Yeah, he to be fair, he came up to us in Nando's and said he's just quite busy, but he will try and make time for an interview. But that's the thing with our league. We appreciate anyone who comes on because we know that all the players have full-time jobs alongside the hockey. So don't be sorry if you don't have the time at the moment to come on the podcast. But he's back next season. I thought he finished the season really well. He scored the goal of the playoffs, the backhand Shelfie. He got 34 points last season. He didn't play on the top lines for some of that season, Charlie. And I think he'll have a better season this season in terms of point scoring.
Yeah, he's solid. He's just a good power third line, second line forward who can go up the lines and go down the lines.
Yeah, he's got a lot of experience as well playing across the different teams. The first new player then is Edgars Landsberg, and I'm going to go to you for this one, Dan, because you know Landsberg quite well. You're quite close with him, and he obviously played at Bison. I think that was his best season he's played, and he got given ice time. And I think this is the perfect team and the perfect coach for him to get that ice time this season. And he could put up 30, 40 points like he did at Bison under Tommy Watkins.
Yeah, 100%. I think he's going to have a really good year, to be honest. Obviously, we saw what he can do with Basingstoke. It's a shame that things didn't really work out last season for him, because I think that would have been a good season for him to follow on.
Yeah.
But it sort of got a bit messy. But he's pretty much had a year out, just sort of working on himself, and sort of gave it that time. So I think next season he's going to come out really strong. He's got something to work for. He's got a season to follow from. And I think under Tom Watkins, yeah, just like Ashley Tate did, I think he's going to get the opportunities he wants. He's going to be in a hard-working team, and I think, yeah, he's going to find his perfect spot there and put up points.
Hopefully, he hasn't quite settled at a team yet since Bison, and maybe that is because of opportunity, and he hasn't been given the right opportunity for him. But I really do hope Telford's the team, and I'm sure Watkins will nurture him into a really good role for Telford, because he certainly does use the squad and them four lines when he has them. So, yeah, good luck to Edgar's Landsberg this season. Charlie, Adam Harding, someone we know really well. And obviously he moved from Bristol over to Telford. I think that's a really good signing again. It's more depth. It's another forward who can score 40 plus points. And again, it just takes even more pressure off some of those top guys, and it will spread the points around a bit, won't it?
Yeah, adds to their centre core, which is always
Yeah, good point.
Scott McKenzie, Adam Harding. They lost Sutton, who was a centre, obviously. And so Adam Harding's come in so they can get two import wingers. And yeah, he'll be a really good piece. And he's been playing for a team which has been bottom of the league 2-3 years in a row. So he's going to want to win again. He's going to want to get back on the winning side, and he's going to want to play in more important games again. So I think he'll be hungry to win.
Yeah, I think he will as well. And he can play that gritty game. He can play that feisty game as well. He'll drop the gloves if he needs to. We've seen him at Swindon. He dropped the gloves with a lot of players and try and build the momentum. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, he fought Bally, didn't he? So he will drop the gloves, and I think he'll, again, it's not very hard to fit into Telford, is it? Because you're surrounded by some younger players, you're surrounded by the vets, and you've got a coach which will give you time and try and get the best out of you. So, yeah, another really good depthy sign-in who's going to get you points in Adam Harding. Let's move on to the imports then. And we'll start with the one who looks unbelievable on paper. And Charlie, I know you're the best at talking about their CVs on paper, some of the American League. So I'll hand Devon Skaleski over to you.
Devon Skaleski looks really good. He played WHL, which is a great league. Lots of top talents play there. I can imagine. I'll click on one of his teams now. Yeah, they've got a couple NHL boys from there. The standout being Caden Gooley from Montreal, but he played in the U Sports, which I think is a league which many of our fans are familiar with. But in the U Sports League, in his final 2 seasons, he scored a point a game, which is phenomenal. Phenomenal CV for this level. And he's only going to build on that. And he's just come out of a league which I think Dan will know more than me about. It's the Metis League in Finland. He played 14 games last year, so only about a third of the season. But the Metis League, I believe, it's the second tier of Finnish hockey, Dan.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
and it's a good league. There's some NHL prospects in there. I was checking a couple of the Americans and Canadians who play in that league, and they are guys who have played NCAA and done well. They're guys who have come out the Czechia League, some the Dow League. They are top players. And to be honest, my expectations for this guy is to rip up this league. Yeah. He's got to rip it up. He's one of the best import CVs we've seen join this league. And I think that's credit to Telford for bringing him in because, if Swindon signed a player like this, I'd be very excited. And it's the type of player I'd put MK or Leeds to sign.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal signing. And he, like I said, playing with Finn Howes and Scott McKenzie, and that line's going to be unbelievable.
The WHL has produced a lot of NHL players, and in his best season, 65 games, he got 34 points in that season with a lot of younger NHL players. So very, very good CV, a point per game in U Sports. That's very, very good. So Go on,
what I was going in the U Sports, if obviously people don't realise, the U Sports is a really defensive league. Normally the games are really low scoring. Yeah. So obviously if you look at his points, they probably might not look that high. But in that league, obviously
27 in 27.
Yeah, and getting a point per game in that league is you're up there with the best players in that league because it is such a defensive game. And if you look at the score lines in that game, they're normally like 4-3, 3-2, and the seasons aren't very long either. So I'm sure he'll have a pretty good two-way game too because they do focus on that in that league.
Yeah.
Some of his teammates played with Coventry Blaze. One of his teammates did, and another one of his teammates now plays in the ECIHL, which is a very good league in America. So his teammates have gone on to do good things as well. I've got big expectations.
Sticking with Finley Howes, we could see a Finley Howes prime at just 21 years old. It could be quite special, that partnership. So I'm looking forward to him, watching him next season. The final one is an import which there's been a lot of talk about. It is Zachary Yokoyama, and I'm going to pronounce that right, Charlie. I know you struggle with pronunciations, but Yokoyama has come in. He's only 21 years old. He's 22 years old. He's come in and he played in the NHL 1 last season with the Nottingham Lions, and he got 38 points, I think, in that season. He was the top scorer in that team by quite a chunk. There's a lot of question marks whether he'll be able to do it at this level. Scotty McKenzie certainly thinks that he is a very talented player, and Charlie, what do you make of the signing?
Scott didn't actually
48 points, sorry.
Scott didn't ask me what I was thinking. But I think it's a very interesting signing. I think, like I said, I think it's a signing which a low budget team is a clever tip signing to make. He's a low budget import who's got a high upside. And to be honest, I think he's an investment. And I think his potential this year, and if he gets ahead of this, I'll be very impressed. But I think a good season from him is about the 45 to a point a game mark. I think that's a great season from him. But if he gets any higher than that, it's a Tom Watkins masterclass. And it wouldn't surprise me if he's with Telford for the next couple seasons and we see him hitting 60, 70 points in a couple years. But it's a low risk, high reward signing. And I think when I first saw it, I was a bit like, meh. But then when I think about it, it's like, actually, it does make a lot of sense.
You've got your goals in Luca. You've got your beast in Devon Skaleski. Dan, as Charlie said, low risk, high reward. I think he's a physical player. He likes to throw his body around. A lot of people have questioned his attitude, but Scotty said to Tom Watkins in the dressing room, he's going to fit in that dressing room. He ain't going to be messing about. This is a proper league. No disrespect to NHL 1, but it is a step up. And I don't think he's got that much pressure on him, actually. And I think that's going to actually benefit him a lot. He knows he's not the main man. You got Howes, you've got the couple imports, you got McKenzie. He's just expected to go out there, put a lot of work in, put a lot of effort, chip in with points, have a couple fights, be physical, and as Charlie said, if he can get over 35, 40 points, I think that's a good season.
Yeah, you've literally just echoed what I was going to say. I think he is not going to be the main guy. He's not going to have that on his mind that he's the guy that everyone's going to be looking at to get the points. He can sort of sit back in his game a bit more, maybe focus on a different part of his game. Obviously, we definitely know he's got the grittiness. We know that's always welcome in this league. I'm sure he's going to be another guy that's going to be a fan favourite. He's going to throw the body around. He's going to be another guy that's going to gain a bit of momentum for Telford, like we've said, how good they are with that. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if he puts the points. And again, that's another depth point scorer. And they have got some really good players that are going to be a big part in their depth pieces this season. And I think that's going to be very important for them.
Yeah. And you mentioned depth. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 forwards who are all expected to get some minutes this season. That's 4 lines. And pick up a couple of injuries, you've got some cover there. So I think it's
Tom Watkins will play 4. Tom Watkins,
he will, yeah, he will.
Yeah, you know he will. You know he's
what I like about him is all them players. For example, Landsberg, he didn't get a huge amount of ice times at both teams he was at last year. Even if Landsberg starts on the 4th line, I know he's going to get put out there. I know he's going to get shifts. And I know Tom will be saying to him, you may not be on the 3rd line yet, but if you play well, you'll get up there. And that's what I like about Tom Watkins is he's signed 12 forwards, but I know he's going to use 12 forwards.
Yeah.
That's why it's so attractive for young players is because they're going to go to that team they're under Tom Watkins and they know they're going to play. Like they just know they will. I don't
Yeah.
think there's ever been a player for Telford that's sort of been like, oh, he don't really get much ice time. You always see him rotating the lines, and yeah, it's a perfect place for young players to go that want to grow their game.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go on to our expectations of Telford then. Obviously, we've just talked about their roster, a bigger roster. Charlie, do you want to start?
Yeah, my expectations for Telford is mid-table finish. Um, Probably I'd expect them to be around the sixth, seventh, fifth mark, fifth, sixth, seventh mark. I think sixth/fifth would be a really good year for them.
Yeah.
As he said, they're probably the third lowest budget in the league, and potentially a quick run at the start, fast start to the season could get them in that cup. They need to start off the season strong if they want to make it there. And knowing Telford being that annoying thorn, which takes wins away from Milton Keynes or Leeds or Swindon or Hull, just challenging them big teams when you play them and trying to sneak into playoffs. But I think just being a big thorn in the big teams' side, not being easy to beat and not getting washed over. I wouldn't say I'd expect them to win a cup, but to be close within getting into the Coventry or getting there, being close to getting into the cup semi-final or getting there, and obviously getting a mid-table finish.
Yeah. Dan, go on, and then I'll give a couple expectations.
Yeah, I think fifth or sixth in the league. I think they're gonna be better in the league this season because of that. Obviously, yeah, mid-table finish is sort of expected for Telford. In the cup, I think they're gonna go. I think they'll go quite deep in the cup. I think they've got them players that will sort of suit them gritty games, fighting for a cup. I don't think they'll win it, but yeah, they'll definitely get closer than last season.
Yeah.
And then I think they'll make it to Coventry as well. Definitely.
Really?
Yeah, I'm already saying it now because we didn't say it before, but I'm getting it in early.
I think it'll be much more competitive. It will be very tough. As Charlie said, I think if they can try and get a sneaky fourth, I think that would be a very good season. They've got a better team than last season, and they've got this study import. And if he can settle in straight away, who knows what could happen? I think they could make a sneaky push for the top four in the cup. It's only 10 games. It's not 20 games now. If you can just have a really good start and the team can get 6 or 7 wins and get that top four, you've got every chance to win that cup. And we know what Tom Watkins can be like in the cup game. So I think their expectation will be to try and get into that top four, as will most teams be to get in that top four to try and get the cup. And then playoffs, yeah, I think again they'll be setting to try and get there. They get there most seasons. So I'm sure they'll be trying to do that again. But yeah, it's set to be a pretty fun season, and I think Telford fans are quite excited from what I've heard for some of these players, and they got quite a few mysteries as well. I think they got quite a few surprise mysteries, which I'd be excited to watch if I was a Telford fan. Let's talk about a couple of them then. Our ones to watch. Charlie or Dan, who wants to go first?
Dan, and I can bet £1 million.
Dan, yeah, I think I can bet some money on who I think you're going to go with here.
Boring.
I'm gonna go with my boy Eddie Lansberg.
Winner! I won money.
I think it's going to be a big year for him. I think this season he has to turn up. No pressure on him, obviously, but I think, yeah, this season he knows as well that he has to turn up. This is the year that he's got to settle into this team. Really got to show that he can carry over that form from Basingstoke. Prove that last year was just a bit of a messy year. He's going to get that bigger role. He's going to get that role now of a player that's regular ice time. He's not going to go into games where he's going to be sat on the bench one game, then he'll be on the ice the next game. He's going to get that regular ice, and he's going to be in a team that wants to win, and he's going to be building with other young players as well that have been in the same scenario as him before. And yeah, it's going to be a big year for him. He's going to get points in that depthy scoring area again.
Nice one, Charlie.
My ones to watch. Jack kind of gave it away. Was Lucas Price. I think he'll get half a point a game this year. I think he's a really good player, and I think he'll get a lot of fans angry on Twitter.
That's a nice one. I do want to shout out Louis Newell, but after speaking with Scotty, I'm gonna go with Zachary Yokoyama. I think it's an exciting one. I'm excited to watch him. I could go boring with this really good import who they've signed, but I think Yokoyama's a really interesting one. And I think he's just going to be fun to watch. I think he's going to bring a bit which maybe some safer imports might not bring. So be interesting to see how he nurtures into Tom Watkins' system. It's gonna be interesting. I like this little roster for Telford, and as you said, it's got a lot of depth. Dan, what were you gonna say?
I was just going to say about Lucas Price. I don't know if Charlie's going to be very happy when he injures Malazinski again.
He does love going for the top players. He does not care, does he?
That's
Charlie's
why I
going
like
to kill him.
I think Scott said that he has a lot of players who are willing to like just go for it. Like the youngsters who are willing to hit people hard and get involved in the dirty battles. Obviously, if someone touches Malas, I don't like you, but at the same time, I have respect about the fact that people battle, and the players who battle hard are often the ones who stand out. And yeah.
So yeah, Dan's gone with Landsbergs, Charlie's gone with Lucas Price, and I have gone with Zachary Yokoyama. So set to be a really interesting season for Telford. Telford Tigers fans, we hope you've enjoyed this little episode. We hope you've enjoyed the interview with Scott McKenzie and other fans as well. Let us know what you think about Telford. I certainly think they've improved on their roster from last season. Yeah, they'll certainly be looking to upset, as Charlie said, be a thorn to those top level teams. We hope you've enjoyed this team special. Please do keep your notifications and alerts on, because we will be getting a lot of these out quite quickly because a lot of the rosters are filling up. So yeah, we hope you enjoyed this episode. It's been a long one. Yeah, go get some water and cool down. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.